The system is completely based on money.
Yeah.
The studio system.
Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
Mel Gibson's appearance in court was nothing short of cinematic, but the drama unfolding wasn't scripted, it was real, raw and devastating. The actor, a figure both revered and controversial in Hollywood, entered the courtroom with a gravity that silenced the crowd. His testimony was not just another celebrity moment, but an explosive exposé of an alleged underworld of abuse, manipulation, and power games that stretched far beyond the glittering facade of fame. Mel Gibson wasn't just naming names, he was pulling back the curtain on a culture that had thrived in shadows for decades. And at the center of it all stood Sean Diddy, Combs, a mogul who had once been the life of the party, but now faced accusations that painted him as a puppet master in a horrifying web of exploitation.
Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers described the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
The courtroom atmosphere was electric, the audience a mix of reporters, lawyers, and spectators desperate to catch even the smallest detail of Gibson's account. This wasn't just about Diddy, it was about what he represented. Gibson painted a chilling picture of Hollywood as a machine fueled not by talent and creativity, but by secrecy, coercion, and greed. He described an intricate system of control where power wasn't just exercised, it was weaponized. At the center were events referred to as freakoffs, grotesque gatherings cloaked in exclusivity, where vulnerable women were allegedly coerced into participating in multi-day encounters with male companions handpicked for these occasions. Substances, money, and fear were the tools of control, ensuring compliance and silence.
You can't build a resentment about it. You have to still try and love those people.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they're thinking.
The details Gibson shared were harrowing. These weren't the carefree parties the public imagined when thinking of celebrity gatherings. According to his testimony, these events were meticulously planned and executed. Hotel rooms were stocked with supplies, assistants ferried substances and cash, and victims were groomed to believe they had no choice but to comply. One woman, identified in court filings as Jane, described being trapped in these sessions for years, often under the influence of substances provided by Diddy's team. The sessions, she said, were not only degrading but physically exhausting, leaving her with injuries and emotional scars that lingered long after the events ended.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil Astroglide.
The accusations didn't stop at coercion. Gibson's testimony suggested that these gatherings were part of a larger system of blackmail and control. Allegedly, Diddy and his associates recorded these sessions, using them as leverage over both participants and high-profile guests. The message was clear: you played by their rules or your secrets would be exposed. This wasn't just about indulgence, it was about ensuring loyalty, submission, and silence. Victims, already isolated and financially dependent, were left with little choice but to comply. The tapes, Gibson claimed, weren't just evidence of crimes, they were tools of power in an industry built on image and reputation. What made Gibson's testimony even more damning was his assertion that Diddy was not acting alone. He implicated a broader network of Hollywood elites, suggesting that these events were not isolated incidents, but part of a system designed to protect the powerful and silence the vulnerable. The ties, he hinted, stretched deep into the entertainment industry, encompassing not just music, but film, fashion, and beyond. Diddy, he claimed, wasn't just a participant, but a key orchestrator, someone who used his influence to build and maintain this system. The implication was clear: taking down Diddy could potentially unravel an entire network.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, like, this guy has an addiction. It's not just once every few weeks, it's every day, every hour.
The courtroom was riveted as Gibson outlined the alleged power dynamics that allowed such behavior to flourish. Diddy, as one of the most influential figures in music and entertainment, wielded enormous power over those around him. Victims were often young, impressionable, and desperate to succeed in an industry where connections could make or break a career. Diddy's wealth and status gave him the leverage to isolate and control them, offering opportunities and financial support with one hand while taking away their autonomy with the other. Assistants, bodyguards, and even household staff played roles in facilitating this system, whether through direct involvement or willful ignorance. The allegations against Diddy had been building for years, but Gibson's testimony gave them a new level of credibility and urgency. Reports had long circulated about hotel nights and freakoffs, but they had often been dismissed as rumors or exaggerated tabloid fodder. Now, with a Hollywood heavyweight like Gibson speaking out, those whispers were impossible to ignore. His testimony brought to light not just the alleged crimes themselves, but the mechanisms that allowed them to go unchecked for so long. It wasn't just about individual actions, it was about a culture of complicity, where silence was bought, victims were discredited, and the powerful were protected at all costs.
And I've often felt it. I've sat there, and I have felt the knife slipped firmly in between my shoulder blades and tried to have it shoved through the other side through my heart.
The case against Diddy was already staggering in scope. Federal prosecutors had accused him of turning his business empire into a criminal enterprise, engaging in activities that ranged from coercion and trafficking to physical violence and intimidation. Court documents detailed allegations of kidnapping, forced encounters, and even recordings used as blackmail. One lawsuit described Diddy's alleged role in destroying evidence, including videos and text messages, to cover his tracks. Another recounted an incident where a woman was allegedly coerced into participating in a session that left her physically and emotionally broken. Each victim's account added another layer of horror to an already damning picture.
I want to start with alleged victim number 4, who goes by the name Mia. It's an alias. She is one of the people who is testifying where the judge has granted her anonymity. She is on the stand, but everybody in the courtroom has been warned. Do not reveal her identity. Do not even give a physical description of her.
Gibson's testimony also highlighted the lengths to which Diddy's team allegedly went to maintain control. Assistants were said to have coordinated travel and accommodations for victims, ensuring they were isolated and dependent. Substances were allegedly supplied to lower inhibitions and ensure compliance, with victims often left in a haze of confusion and fear. The physical and emotional toll of these events was immense, with one victim describing how she suffered from chronic pain and psychological trauma long after her involvement ended. These were not isolated incidents, but patterns of behavior that, according to prosecutors, spanned decades. The implications of Gibson's testimony were enormous. If even a fraction of what he described was true, it could blow the lid off an entire system of exploitation and abuse in Hollywood. The trial wasn't just about holding Diddy accountable. It was about exposing the rot at the heart of an industry that had long prioritized profit and image over justice and accountability. The courtroom was left in stunned silence as Gibson concluded his initial remarks, leaving everyone wondering what else might come to light in the days ahead. Would this be the moment Hollywood's darkest secrets were finally revealed, or would the system once again find a way to protect its own?
And I was looking at a building with the top of the 6s on it, so there was a huge illuminated 666 in red. And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist.
The revelations didn't stop with Mel Gibson's testimony or the shocking tales of freakoffs. As investigators dug deeper into Sean Diddy Combs' empire, they uncovered a labyrinth of allegations, hidden connections, and sinister implications that stretched far beyond one man's trial. The courtroom drama was only the surface of a story that seemed to grow darker with every passing day. Authorities, whistleblowers, and insiders were beginning to piece together what some are calling one of the most explosive scandals in modern entertainment history. A scandal that could implicate not only Hollywood elites, but also global figures in politics, business, and even royalty. One of the most chilling discoveries came from the raid on Diddy's Beverly Hills mansion. While the media initially focused on the sensational finds, hidden rooms stocked with bizarre items, an arsenal of party supplies, and detailed guest logs, insiders revealed that these discoveries were just the beginning. Reports surfaced about a network of properties allegedly used for similar purposes stretching across the US and even overseas. A luxury villa in the Caribbean, a private estate in Europe, and a secluded compound in Miami were all rumored to be part of the same pattern. Each location, according to sources close to the investigation, was designed with entertainment in mind, complete with private areas inaccessible to staff or visitors. Could these properties have hosted the same disturbing events Gibson described in court?
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
The logs confiscated during the raid provided a glimpse into the scale of the gatherings. Names of prominent actors, musicians, and business tycoons appeared alongside lesser-known individuals, sparking speculation about how deep the connections ran. One source alleged that the guest lists were carefully curated, with attendees selected based on their influence, wealth, or vulnerability. The question remains, how many of these guests were complicit, and how many were unsuspecting participants drawn into a world they didn't fully understand? The specter of blackmail looms large, with rumors that some attendees were deliberately compromised in order to ensure their silence and cooperation. Were these parties simply about indulgence, or were they a calculated means of control? Perhaps the most startling element of the investigation is the alleged existence of a secretive inner circle operating at the highest levels of Hollywood and beyond. Gibson's testimony hinted at this, but new reports suggest it's more organized than anyone imagined. Anonymous sources have described what can only be referred to as a modern-day secret society, complete with initiation rituals, hierarchies, and coded language. Whispers of this group have circulated for years, tales of underground gatherings, strange symbols, and whispered alliances, but they've always been dismissed as conspiracy theories. Now, with Gibson's testimony and the mounting evidence from the investigation, those whispers are becoming harder to ignore.
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
Tying this alleged network together are the recordings that have become the focal point of speculation. These tapes, reportedly seized from Diddy's properties, are said to contain footage from the infamous freakoffs. While law enforcement has remained tight-lipped about their contents, leaks suggest that the tapes could implicate more than just Diddy. One insider claimed that the recordings feature not only Hollywood celebrities, but also politicians, tech moguls, and even members of royal families. If these accusations are true, the implications are staggering. What happens when the most powerful people in the world are caught on camera in compromising situations? Could these tapes be the key to unraveling a decades-long culture of exploitation? Or will they disappear into the same void as so many other pieces of evidence before them?
So she testified, excuse me, that she was Diddy's ex-assistant. She said he her, sexually assaulted her in various ways multiple times. He exacted unbelievable violence against her, threatened her, one point allegedly threatened to take her phone and use anything on the phone again.
The scope of the allegations is unprecedented, but what's even more disturbing is the alleged cover-up. Multiple reports suggest that attempts were made to obstruct the investigation at every turn. Witnesses have described being threatened, bribed, or silenced through NDA agreements. Insiders claim that some of the most powerful legal and public relations teams in the country have been mobilized to protect not just Diddy, but the entire system he's accused of being part of. One high-profile lawyer, known for representing A-list celebrities, was reportedly brought in to manage the fallout, raising questions about how far the industry will go to shield its own. Are we witnessing a genuine effort to bring accountability, or is this just another layer of Hollywood's infamous damage control? Meanwhile, the victims at the center of this case are finally being heard, many of them breaking years of silence to share their stories. One woman, who spoke anonymously to a prominent outlet, described how she was manipulated into attending one of Diddy's gatherings under the guise of a career opportunity. They made it seem glamorous, like it was a privilege to be there, she said. But once you were inside, it was nothing like what they promised. It was terrifying. Her account mirrors others who have come forward, detailing how they were isolated and coerced into unspeakable acts. For years, many of these victims felt they had no choice but to stay silent, fearing retaliation or public humiliation if they spoke out.
You could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, Now this is what I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon, you know, eventually, if you stay here long enough.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself doing that. And you have to, there's a way of doing it without doing it.
The trial has also renewed interest in previous allegations against Diddy, some of which date back decades. From lawsuits filed by former employees to cryptic comments from ex-partners, a pattern is beginning to emerge. One former staff member, speaking under condition of anonymity, described a culture of fear and secrecy within Diddy's inner circle. Everyone knew not to ask questions, they said. You just did what you were told, no matter how strange it seemed. Another source alleged that employees were often tasked with covering up incidents, from cleaning up hotel rooms to destroying incriminating evidence. If even half of these claims are true, it paints a damning picture of an empire built on exploitation and silence. The lawsuits piling up against Diddy in recent years have revealed a disturbing pattern of alleged abuse and control over those in his orbit. In one particularly shocking case, a former assistant claimed in court filings that Diddy forced her to organize and facilitate his so-called sessions, which she described as chaotic, degrading, and fueled by intimidation. Court documents allege that the assistant was tasked with booking hotels under false names, arranging transportation for women, and ensuring that substances and other items were discreetly delivered to the locations. She also claimed that Diddy's team frequently used burner phones and encrypted messages to obscure their activities. Investigators are reportedly following this trail of evidence, which could potentially link back to other high-profile individuals who participated in or helped facilitate these gatherings.
Continued to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm gonna be, nah, you'll have a rude awakening.
Another recent lawsuit, filed by a woman identified only as Victim 2, details a harrowing account of coercion and violence. According to the court documents, she was allegedly groomed over several months before being invited to what she believed was a private party. The complaint alleges she was given substances that left her disoriented and unable to resist as she was forced into multiple days of unwanted encounters. This victim's story is eerily similar to others, reinforcing claims that Diddy maintained a calculated system of control over his victims. Prosecutors have also noted that several victims described the same methods of manipulation, promises of financial security, lavish gifts, and career opportunities that quickly turned into leverage used to silence them. The lawsuits also extend to past relationships, with claims of physical and emotional abuse coming from women who were once close to the mogul. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner, described years of suffering in her lawsuit, including being pressured into days-long encounters with strangers while under the influence of substances. Another accuser, Crystal McKinney, alleges she was subjected to similar treatment during the early 2000s, adding that Diddy's entourage actively worked to cover up his behavior by threatening victims and destroying evidence. These lawsuits, spanning decades, suggest a far-reaching and systematic approach to keeping victims compliant while protecting Diddy's public image. If proven true, they could not only dismantle his empire, but also expose enablers who helped sustain it. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of this entire case is the sense that it's just the beginning. Every new piece of evidence, every new witness seems to point to a larger, more entrenched system of abuse. As the trial continues, the question isn't just whether Diddy will be held accountable, but whether the floodgates will open for others. Will more victims step forward? Will more insiders break their silence? And most importantly, will the justice system finally hold the powerful to account? Or will this case become another footnote in Hollywood's long history of scandal? As we look ahead, one thing is clear: the fallout from this trial will be felt for years to come. Could this be the moment that finally exposes Hollywood's darkest secrets? Or will the industry's most powerful players find a way to bury the truth once again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, the story isn't over. Stay tuned for more updates, because the revelations coming next might just shake the world to its core. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.